The Ruth Stout gardening method relies on one simple rule. The soil must never be left bare. Many gardeners view winter as a time when the garden sleeps. Ruth Stout saw it differently. She understood that winter is a critical phase for soil development. This development happens under what she called the winter blanket. The winter blanket is a layer of organic material. It is typically made from spoiled hay or straw. This layer must be at least 8 inches deep. The depth is not optional if you want the full benefits. Traditional gardening takes a different approach entirely. Gardeners till their soil in autumn and leave it exposed. This exposure creates what Stout called the dusty desert effect. Cold winds strip away moisture from the naked soil. The top layer of beneficial microorganisms dies. Freezing temperatures and ultraviolet radiation destroy them. Ruth Stout made a simple comparison that changed gardening forever. She said that just as humans need clothing for protection, soil needs permanent cover. This cover must be maintained 365 days a year. There are no exceptions to this rule. The soil is a living organism. It requires protection to maintain its health and structural integrity. The winter mulch serves as thermal regulation for your garden. Think of it as a blanket that traps heat rising from below. A thick layer of hay acts as insulation. It captures the geothermal warmth coming from the subsoil. In a conventional garden bed, frost can penetrate deep. This creates a destructive phenomenon called frost heave. Frost heave happens when moisture in the soil freezes. The water expands as it turns to ice. This expansion physically lifts the soil upward. Anything planted in that soil gets pushed up too, for gardeners who plant garlic in the fall. This is devastating. Shallots and perennial bulbs face the same danger. Frost heave can eject bulbs completely from the earth. Once exposed, they face lethal temperatures and die. The Ruth Stout blanket prevents this destruction entirely. It stabilizes the temperature of the soil below. The insulation ensures the ground freezes and thaws slowly. In some climates, the ground never freezes under the mulch at all. This stability protects the root systems of perennials. It allows winter crops to survive and even thrive. Ruth Stout grew vegetables through New England winters. She harvested carrots and parsnips from beneath the snow. The mulch made this possible. The vegetables remained safe in ground that stayed workable. Under a thick winter blanket, your garden remains alive. The biological activity never completely stops. The soil microbiome includes bacteria and beneficial fungi. It also includes larger organisms like earthworms and beetles. In bare soil, these creatures face a harsh choice. They either die or enter deep dormancy to survive. In a Stout-style garden, the insulation changes everything. These organisms continue their essential work throughout winter. Fungi are the primary decomposers of materials like hay. These are high-carbon materials that bacteria cannot break down efficiently. Throughout winter, mycelium networks expand beneath the snow. They're breaking down the bottom layer of mulch into humus. This humus is nutrient-rich and ready for spring planting. It is the best fertilizer your garden will ever receive. Earthworms remain active near the surface layer. They work where the mulch meets the actual soil. Ruth Stout frequently made an observation about her garden. She said she never needed to plow the soil. The earthworms performed all the labor for her. Their constant movement through the soil creates natural tunnels. These tunnels aerate the ground and improve drainage dramatically. They're nature's rototiller working for free. Stout called earthworms her unpaid workforce. By keeping the ground covered, you provide their ideal environment. They improve your soil structure while you rest indoors. This is the essence of the no-work garden method. Let me explain what happens when soil is left naked. The consequences are more severe than most gardeners realize. First, the moisture disappears rapidly from the surface. Wind and sun evaporate it during any thaw period. The soil becomes dusty and lifeless by spring. It has lost its structure and fertility. Second, beneficial organisms die off in exposed conditions. This includes the bacteria that fix nitrogen in the soil. It includes the fungi that form partnerships with plant roots. These partnerships help plants absorb phosphorus and other minerals. When these organisms die, you lose years of biological development. You're essentially starting over each spring. Third, bare soil is vulnerable to erosion. Winter winds can literally blow away your topsoil. This is especially true if you live in an area with dry winters. The precious humus layer just disappears. Ruth Stout witnessed this repeatedly in her neighbors' gardens. She saw the wind carry away their fertility. Her own garden, covered year-round, grew richer each season. The contrast was impossible to ignore. Spring brings its own set of challenges to bare soil. The rapid snowmelt and heavy rains create serious problems. Bare frozen soil often becomes hydrophobic during winter. This means it actually repels water instead of absorbing it. The surface becomes sealed and compacted. When snow melts or rain falls, the water cannot penetrate. This results in runoff that carries away your best topsoil. Any nutrients you added the previous season wash away too. The winter blanket serves as a hydrological buffer. The thick organic matter acts like a giant sponge. It slows down water from melting snow or spring rain. This allows moisture to percolate slowly into the soil profile. Instead of running across the surface, water sinks deep. Your garden enters spring fully hydrated and ready to grow. The physical presence of mulch prevents another problem too. It stops the capping effect caused by heavy rain. When raindrops hit bare soil, they act like tiny hammers. They break apart the soil structure and seal the surface. This sealed surface cannot breathe or absorb water properly. The mulch absorbs the impact instead. Ruth Stout's garden always looked dark and moist in spring. Her neighbors' gardens were often pale and dry. The difference was entirely due to the protective blanket. It managed water perfectly without any human intervention. To achieve these benefits, the mulch layer must be substantial. Thickness matters more than almost any other factor. Ruth Stout recommended spoiled hay as the ideal material. It is usually inexpensive because farmers cannot sell it. Spoiled hay contains a variety of weed seeds initially, but under 8 inches of mulch, no seeds can germinate. The depth suppresses all light and provides significant thermal resistance. This is why 8 inches is the minimum. Leaves work as an alternative material for the winter blanket. Straw is functional too, though it is lighter weight. You may need 10 to 12 inches of straw. It compresses more than hay does over winter. Apply the blanket in late autumn before the ground freezes. This timing is important for establishment. You want the mulch in place before the first hard freeze. This protects the soil microbiome immediately. When spring planting time arrives, you don't dig or till. This is the revolutionary part of the Stout method. You simply pull the mulch aside like a blanket. Beneath it, you'll find soft, dark worm-enriched soil. Place your seeds or seedlings into this perfect growing medium. Then let the mulch fall back around the plants. The remaining mulch continues its work through the growing season. It retains moisture and suppresses weeds completely. Ruth Stout developed this method partially out of frustration. She couldn't find anyone to plow her garden one spring. Instead of waiting, she simply pushed aside the old mulch. She planted directly into the soil beneath. The results astounded her. The plants grew better than ever before. She realized she had been doing unnecessary work for decades. Plowing was actually harmful, not helpful. From that point forward, she never tilled again. Her garden improved year after year without mechanical intervention. The economic benefits became obvious over time. She stopped buying fertilizer entirely. The decomposing mulch provided all the nutrients her plants needed. She stopped buying pesticides too. Healthy soil creates healthy plants that resist pests naturally. She didn't need chemicals to protect them. Her water bill dropped dramatically as well. The mulch retained moisture so efficiently that watering was rarely necessary. She estimated that the time savings were even more valuable. She spent about 30 minutes a day in her garden. That 30 minutes was mostly harvesting and enjoying the space. It wasn't hard labor or constant maintenance. For a woman in her 80s, this was transformative. She could maintain a productive garden without physical strain. Many gardeners try the Ruth Stout method but make critical errors. Understanding these mistakes helps ensure your success. The most common mistake is using insufficient depth. 4 or 5 inches will not provide adequate protection. You need the full 8 inches minimum. More is better, especially in harsh climates. The second mistake is removing the mulch in spring. Some gardeners think bare soil warms up faster. This defeats the entire purpose of the system. The mulch should remain permanently except where you're planting. The third mistake is using fresh grass clippings alone. Fresh green material will mat down and become slimy. It can create anaerobic conditions that smell bad. Mix grass clippings with dry hay or leaves instead. The fourth mistake is expecting instant results. The full benefits develop over 2 to 3 years. Your first winter, you're protecting the soil you have. The second winter, you're protecting improved soil. By the third winter, your soil has transformed completely. It becomes dark, crumbly, and incredibly fertile. Ruth Stout gardened the same plot for decades. Her soil became several feet deep with pure humus. She never added anything except more mulch on top. The system created fertility from within itself. One of the most remarkable benefits is winter harvest capability. Ruth Stout ate fresh vegetables from her garden year-round. Root vegetables store perfectly in the ground under mulch. Carrots become sweeter after exposure to light frost. Parsnips develop their characteristic flavor only after freezing. The cold converts their starches to sugar. To harvest in winter, you simply brush away the snow, then pull back the mulch in a small area. The ground beneath remains soft enough to dig. Extract your vegetables and replace the mulch immediately. This works even in climates with significant snowfall. Stout gardened in Connecticut with cold winters. She harvested through January and February regularly. Her neighbors thought she was exaggerating until they saw it. Kale and other hardy greens survive under the blanket too. They may look wilted on cold days, but they revive completely when harvested and brought inside. The flavor is superior to summer kale. The winter blanket essentially creates a root cellar above ground. Your vegetables stay fresh without refrigeration. This was especially valuable in Stout's era before reliable freezers, but it remains valuable today for fresh eating. The winter blanket provides multiple interconnected benefits. Each benefit reinforces the others in a positive cycle. First, it provides thermal insulation that prevents frost heave. Your perennial roots and fall plantings stay protected. Second, it maintains biological continuity throughout winter. Fungi and earthworms improve your soil while you rest. Third, it manages moisture perfectly in all seasons. It prevents the dusty desert effect and controls spring runoff. Fourth, it enables continuous nutrient cycling year-round. Decomposition never stops under the protective layer. Fifth, it eliminates the need for tilling and plowing. The soil structure improves naturally through biological action. By maintaining this cover throughout winter, you work with nature. You're not fighting against natural processes. The soil microbiome stays protected and nourished. It is ready for immediate production when spring arrives. Ruth Stout proved this method works over 40 years. She gardened successfully into her 90s using this system. Her garden required less work each year as the soil improved. This is the opposite of conventional gardening. Most gardens require more inputs and harder work over time. The soil degrades and needs constant amendment. The Stout method creates a regenerative system. Instead, each year builds on the previous year's improvements. Your 8th year of mulching is easier than your first. Your soil is richer. Your plants are healthier. This is the true genius of keeping soil covered permanently. You align yourself with natural processes that build fertility. The winter blanket is not just a seasonal technique. It is a fundamental shift in how we think about gardening. It transforms gardening from constant labor into gentle stewardship. The garden does most of the work itself. Your role becomes one of observation and harvest. You add mulch, plant seeds, and gather abundance. This is the no-work garden that Ruth Stout promised. It is not actually no work, but it is remarkably close. The work you do is pleasant and minimal. The results exceed what most gardeners achieve through hard labor. Start your winter blanket this autumn. 8 inches of spoiled hay or leaves over your entire garden. Leave it there through winter, spring, summer, and fall. Add more on top as the bottom layer decomposes. Within 3 years, you'll have the garden you've always wanted. Rich soil, abundant harvests, and minimal effort. This is Ruth Stout's gift to us, a method that respects both the gardener and the garden.